Hello friend and welcome back to my channel, Blue Nose Trading. My name is Tori Solis and today I'm going to show you how I trim pots on the pottery wheel. You want to start with a pot that's been dried to a leather hard state. You want to be able to pick the pot up without it flooping or changing shape to your touch. If it's floopy, it's probably too soft. But you don't want a pot that's so firm that it would shatter if you dropped it. Ideally it would smoosh if you dropped it. Don't drop it, that would be very unfortunate, but hopefully you get what I'm saying. It's a good idea to go into trimming with a plan. For this mug, my plan is to remove some of this excess clay at the bottom to make this pot nice and rounded. I also trim in a foot ring because I love the artisan touch a well done foot adds to the craftsmanship of the pot. To trim or not to trim is a personal choice. Many potters don't trim and many do. So just do whatever you want to make your work what you want it to be. Once you've decided what your goals are, you'll need to get the pot centered on the wheel. To do this, I put the pot on the wheel as close to what looks center as I can, and then use a needle tool to make a light score with the wheel spinning slowly. The score line will show you which direction you need to scooch the pot. You want to nudge it towards the part of the line that is closest to the outer edge of the pot. This can take a couple attempts and some workshopping, but with practice it gets a lot easier, I promise. Once the pot is centered, the line you make with your needle tool will have uniform space from the edge all the way around. When you get the pot centered, you want to use some soft clay nuggies to hold the pot on the wheel while you trim. Be careful not to squish your rim when laying down the nuggies. I like to put them down slightly away from the edge and then smoosh them gently down where they may touch up against the sides. If you're using clay that's too wet for your nuggies, it might stick to the rims and be a bit messy, and if you use clay that's too firm, you're more likely to dent the rim, or it may not stick well to the wheel and can pop off while you're trimming. A good rule of thumb is clay that's super soft but doesn't leave sticky bits on your hands when you work with it. Once your pot is centered and secured with the nuggies, it's time to trim. There are approximately 8 billion different trim tools. I like to use the Do-All trim tool from Mud Tools, but you're really going to have to follow your heart on this one. The main thing is that you have a tool that is sufficiently sharp and removes the clay in a pattern that you're comfortable with. So it may take a bit of experimentation to see what kind of tool works best for you. Once you have chosen a tool, you want to start your wheel spinning at a medium speed. I like to rest my finger gently on the center of the pot while I trim the edges. You want to apply a gentle pressure with your tool. For the most part, you want the sharpness of your tool to take off the excess clay and not excessive pressure. If you use too much pressure, you can catch the clay too deep and really mess up or gouge the pot. It's better to go over a particularly thick area with multiple passes of your tool rather than trying to take all the clay off at once. You'll also want to be mindful of how much clay you're removing. If you trim too much off, you can create a really thin area that will destabilize the structural integrity of the work. This is going to take some practice. If you're new, you can cut the pieces in half after trimming to check that you're getting even wall consistency. After trimming, some clays will have a grog or grit that causes the trimmed area to have a rougher texture than the rest of the pot. A couple gentle passes with a soft rubber rib can help to smooth out any of these inconsistencies. When trimming a foot ring, it's important to first make sure that you left enough clay at the bottom of your pot to trim a foot ring. I like to start by setting the boundary of the edge with my first pass of the trim tool. After the boundary of the edge is set, I go in and gently remove layers of clay from the center. I like to keep both hands in contact with the trim tool for added stability and control. Once the bottom is trimmed out, I use a little dab of water in my fingertip to smooth out the inside of the foot ring. After the pot is all trimmed up, I add my Potter's stamp to the bottom and voila, a nice round friend. You can now remove the nuggies and admire your work. Then get your next pot, rinse, and repeat. Thank you so much for tuning in this week. I hope this clarified the work that goes into handmade pottery or in helping you to learn how to trim your own work. If you'd like to help support my channel, you can become a member right here on YouTube. For more art videos, be sure to subscribe. Thank you again for being here until the end of the video. Remember that you have great ideas that are worth exploring, drink plenty of water, and I will see y'all in the next video.